Hey, what's up, guys? Today we're going to be writing a video from IGN, a StellarBlade preview. So I don't think this is necessarily a review, but we'll find out what it is right now. I actually haven't watched any IGN for like quite a few years now, but I've heard they've been getting a lot better.
Take my hand.
If stylishly wielding a sword as an anime-style female warrior traversing a post-apocalyptic world left behind by its inhabitants sounds anything like Nier Automata, well, that's because StellarBlade director Kim Hyung-tae was directly inspired by Square Enix's 2017 hit.
I have heard that he was inspired by Nier, and there's two other games I can't remember off the top of my head, but if it comes to me, I'll mention it later.
I'm probably not the only one who imagined StellarBlade would play similarly to Nier Automata as well, a stylish but casual action game that allows you to beat the crap out of your enemies
Oh,
without too
Sekiro,
much
yeah.
stress. However, from the moment
You
I got the
mentioned
hold of the
Sekiro
controller,
before
I realized that
on
I was going
Twitter.
to have a much more nerve-wracking experience than I expected, but in the best possible way. StellarBlade puts a much bigger emphasis on defensive skills than I would have thought. Reading the timing of enemy attacks for well-timed parries and dodges.
Honestly, this is the first time I've heard anyone say that about the game so far, but the focus on defense. But I think he's talking about like the perfect dodges and the perfect parries type thing. But I wouldn't really call that like a focus on defense because it is like a hack and slash. But I see what he's saying.
Is almost as important as it was in Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. Parrying multiple
Yeah,
attacks to
Sekiro
disrupt your
reference.
enemy's
Yeah.
balance allows you to perform a special attack called Retribution.
I was looking at the skill tree from some stream.
Besides your
There's
regular
like a
dodge
whole like skill
mechanic,
tree for like parrying
StellarBlade
and stuff.
introduces Blink and Repulse. Both are dodging skills that counter the enemy's attack, but they can only be used against specific attacks. Blink is utilized by pressing the circle button and moving the analog stick forward simultaneously, while Repulse
Okay.
requires you to press circle and move backwards. At first it can be challenging to instantly know and react to an enemy attack that can be countered by Blink or Repulse, but once you get the hang of it, parrying and dodging a series of attacks only to deliver a devastating counter attack at the end
Oh, so
feels
maybe
incredible.
the
It
colors
makes you realize just
that
how much StellarBlade rewards.
maybe those like that blue and yellow light when that pops up, then you know like which move to activate. But that's actually interesting. So depending on what attack you're receiving, you either had to dodge back or dodge forward
Rewards the
for it.
time you take to learn
Okay.
attack patterns.
That makes it kind of more
In games
complex,
that
I
put a
think.
high emphasis on parrying and dodging, I often find myself playing a bit too defensively. Thanks to a great set of offensive tools, I didn't have the same problem with StellarBlade. Beta skills, which can be utilized once your gauge is full, can cancel an enemy's attack if the timing is right. There's also an attack that allows you to quickly get close to the enemy after dodging from a distance. Delivering a series of attacks with the square and triangle buttons, canceling your enemy's attack with a well-timed beta
Teleport
skill only to finish them
abilities
off with
always
yet
like
another combo
nice
can feel just as great as
when you
the
have
parrying
like
and dodging.
distance from
StellarBlade
the
equally
enemy,
provides
especially
you
after
with both
dodging.
great defensive and offensive skills, which makes it feel balanced and deep. Being able to take different strategies depending on the enemy type is great in
And when you
itself,
can
but it
always
feels like
teleport
StellarBlade has enough depth and variety for players to find their own unique style to tackle the challenging combat.
Yeah,
At
I've
a
seen
certain point in
sometimes,
the
but I
game,
haven't seen
Eve
it
will become able to use a long-range gun-type weapon as
all
well.
the time.
While melee combat remains the main focus, some instances require the use of your gun in order to advance, and apparently some stages are designed for this weapon, but I didn't get to play any of those. I did get to use the gun in a fight against Stalker, one of StellarBlade's
First time
creepy
hearing that
bosses.
about the
By
guns.
successfully countering a specific attack with Repulse, a weak spot is unveiled next to Stalker's head. Heavy damage can be dealt if you are quick enough to fire at this weak spot. I also found myself relying on the gun whenever I was out
I
of
wonder
potions,
if
as
it's the
attacking
same
from a
if you
distance
just like
wasn't
melee
nearly
it
as risky as attacking with my blade. At the
for
very
that
least,
critical
the gun
point.
should function as yet another option in StellarBlade's already robust combat. The bosses I got to fight all had a wide array of attack patterns that fundamentally changed once they headed into a different phase. While overwhelming at first, after a few tries I realized how the attacks were designed for me to utilize the parrying, dodging, and other skills that StellarBlade had taught me at that point.
Okay, so far it looks like they got early access to the demo,
StellarBlade has two
but I
difficulty
think it's the
settings,
same
normal
one that
mode and
everyone
story
else
mode.
gets.
While calling it a Souls-like would make it sound more difficult than it actually is, in normal mode, regular enemies can kill you if you let your guard down. On my first few attempts, bosses felt quite challenging as well. From a game design perspective, StellarBlade does draw a lot of inspiration from the Soulsborne genre.
Oh my god,
Camps feel
spam
just like
attacks
bonfire
probably gonna kill me.
checkpoints. You can unlock shortcuts that lead you back to those checkpoints, and be prepared for surprise attacks from enemies placed just around the corner. When playing in story mode, the game
I
feels a lot
forgot to
more
mention, by the
forgiving,
time
and
you
you can turn on an
this
accessibility
video gets
also
released,
called
the
Action
demo
Assist
will
that
probably
tells
be
you the
out, or
right
like
timing
it's
for
just
parrying
about
and
to
dodging
release.
in QTE fashion. I like that camps don't just function as a place that restores your health and refills your potions, but provides some actual relaxation for Eve and the player. Watching Eve kick back on her chair while playing your choice of song on the record player is a good way to take a break. At these camps, Eve occasionally has conversations with her friends, and the game can reward you with flashbacks and other events. Some events only occur at specific camps, so finding all the camps functions as a nice extra for completionists or those who want to dig deeper into StellarBlade's world and characters.
Okay.
You can buy
I'll
items
need a
and learn new
trophy for
skills at
that.
camps as well. Newly obtained skills can be tried out in the game's training room, but even if you don't, StellarBlade will remind you of that skill during the next combat session in the main game. StellarBlade has many small details like this that make me feel like I was being taken great care of. For example, whenever the beta skill gauge is full, the game's UI will notify you of this. While it might sound like an afterthought, for someone who often gets caught up in the action and
That's
forgets
nice,
to look at
but
the gauge like
hopefully
me,
later
it
on
goes
there's a
long
way
way.
to like turn that off.
While StellarBlade is combat focused, I experienced some simple puzzles and platforming as well. Entering a code in order to open a door was so straightforward that I didn't even feel bad to refer to the hint feature. While not particularly spectacular, platforming
Okay.
sessions
How do you
like
know
moving wooden boards on a water
what the
surface
code
by
is?
swimming
So,
to them,
guess you just
climb
find
on
it on the
them,
wall or
and jump to a
something?
nearby ladder were decent enough to provide some welcome variety. Speaking of swimming, Eve can swim underwater as well, which I found somewhat rare for a combat-focused.
I haven't heard anyone like mention this like ever. Like what? How this is the first time I'm hearing about this swimming in the water.
Action game like StellarBlade. In typical video game fashion, swimming to the bottom of the water rewarded me with a treasure chest. What else would you expect? While mostly linear, the stage I
Wow.
got to play was wide enough for a few detours with other hidden treasure chests and optional enemies. I got the impression that StellarBlade takes exploration seriously as well, at least for an action game. In the main game, players can explore a city called Zion, as well as some less linear areas.
Yeah.
While the depth
I'm
of
really
its
surprised the
exploration
game is gonna
remains
be
to
like
seen,
super linear, but
StellarBlade's action alone was more than enough
everything's
for me
like
to get excited for
super
its April
focused on
26
quality,
release
so
on
not too
PlayStation
bad.
5.
Kind of like
For
the
more upcoming
early
games,
God of War
stick with
games.
IGN.
Okay.